Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद्-Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 28, Kapila's instructions on devotional service. So we are in a section where there is a description of limbs of the body of the Supreme Lord. And why this is so? Because we are in the section of Dhyana 19 to 33, where a yogi is supposed to concentrate and take specific darshan of Lord's limbs step by step, beginning from the lotus feet. So yesterday we have seen the Kaumudaki, Gada. Now we see now text 29. Just a minute. Yeah, text 29. Bhaktyanukampita diha iha gruhita murte sanchintya yeta bhagavata vadanarvindam yat vispuran makara kundalavalgitena vidyotitamalakapola udaranasam. Extremely beautiful verse. So we will just recite this. Now this is the Mukhamandal of the Supreme Lord. Okay, we'll recite this one. Bhaktyānukampita dhiya iha gruhita murte
भक्त्या अनुकम्पिता धियेह गृहीतमूर्ते
sanjintayet bhagavato vadanārvindam
सञ्चिन्तयेत् भगवतो
वदनारविन्दम्
yat vispuran makara kundalavalgitena
यद्विस्फुरणमकराकुण्डलवर्गितेन
विद्योतितामलकपोलमुदारनासम्
विद्योतितामलकपोलमुदारनासम्.
Translation.
The yogi should then meditate on the lotus-like countenance of the Lord, who presents his different forms in this world out of compassion for the anxious devotees. His nose is prominent, and his crystal clear cheeks are illuminated by the oscillation of his glittering alligator-shaped earrings. Purport: the Lord descends to the material world out of his deep compassion for his devotees. There are two reasons for the Lord's appearance or incarnation in the material world. Whenever there is a discrepancy in the discharge of religious principles and there is prominence of irreligion, the Lord descends for the protection of the devotees and the destruction of the non-devotees. When he appears, his main purpose is to give solace to his devotees. He does not have to come himself to destroy the demons, for he has many agents. Even the external energy, Maya, has sufficient strength to kill them. But when he comes to show compassion to his devotees, he kills the non-devotees as a matter of course. The Lord appears in the particular form loved by a particular type of devotee. There are millions of forms of the Lord, but they are one absolute. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. All the different forms of the Lord are one. But some devotees want to see him in the form of Radha and Krishna. Others prefer him as Sita and Ramachandra. Others would see him as Lakshmi Narayan. And others want to see him as 400 Narayan Vasudeva. The Lord has innumerable forms, and he appears in a particular form as preferred by a particular type of devotee. A yogi is advised to meditate upon the forms that are approved by the devotees. A yogi cannot imagine a form for meditation. Those so called yogis who manufacture a circle or target are engaged in nonsense. Actually, a yogi must meditate upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that has been experienced by the Lord's pure devotees. Yogi means devotee. Yogis who are not actually pure devotees should follow in the footsteps of devotees. It is especially mentioned here that the yogis should meditate upon the form which is thus approved. He cannot manufacture a form of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Now, the meditation of the yogi comes to the lotus face of the Supreme Lord. Bhaktya-anukampite dhiyeya grihita murte. The yogi should meditate on the lotus-like countenance of the Lord, who presents his different forms in this world out of deep compassion for the anxious devotee. Look at the beautiful words. For the anxious devotee, right? Devotees are anxious to have form of the Lord, to see the form of the Lord. His nose is prominent. His crystal clear cheeks are illuminated by the oscillations of his Makara Kundala, glittering alligator-shaped earrings. So now here you will see the word Makara Kundala, and the same word you will see in the Abhanga of Tukaram Maharaj. Makara Kundala Talapati Shravani. So this is the form of the Lord being mentioned. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Lord descends to material world out of deep compassion for his devotees. So why the Lord descends? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata and paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. These are the three prominent reasons. That to protect his devotees and to annihilate the demons and thus create pious sukruti even for the demons, and to re-establish the principles of the religion. But the main purpose, Prabhupada says, is to give solace to his devotees. Why? Because material nature is extremely powerful, and millions of Hiranyakashipus and Ravanas can be killed by one stroke of material nature. So killing Hiranyakashipu, killing Ravana is the secondary aspect of Lord's appearance. That is just happens to be, nimitta, that the Lord appears. The Lord appears to give pleasure to his devotees. Namaste Narasimhaya. Why he comes? Prahlad Alladadayine. The first reason he comes is to give happiness to Prahlad. And then, as a side work, Hiranyakashipu Purvaksha Shrilatangha Nakharaya. And as a side work, he will kill Hiranyakashipu also. So the main reason for the appearance of the Supreme Lord is not to destroy the demons, because he has many agents. Prabhupada says Maya is sufficient to kill them, but he comes to show compassion to his devotees and non-devotees also, as a matter of course. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are millions of forms of the Supreme Lord. We cannot imagine avataro hi asankhyanam. And all these forms are same. Ramadi murti shukala niyamena tishtan. And Prabhupada says, all these forms are same, and then there is a distinction in the form based on the rasa that is being exchanged. Right? So there is no difference between Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. But we say that Lord Viṣṇu exhibits 60 qualities and Lord Krishna exhibits 64 qualities. This is because of the rasa they exchange with their devotees. Right? So otherwise, all these forms, they're the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like sometimes, the same man is appearing in dhoti kurta, the same man is appearing in the, you'll have the office suit, or the same man is appearing in some very casual dress, but the person is the same. Of course, this analogy is limited. We cannot stretch the analogy because the dress and the man here, they are different. But in the case of the Supreme Lord, there is no difference like that, because he is the form. So there are millions and millions of forms of the Supreme Lord. And whenever a devotee desires to have a darshan of a particular form, Lord will appear in that form. The classic example of Hanumanji visiting Dwarka. And when Hanumanji is visiting Dwarka, the Lord is presenting himself as Sitaram and not as, Vitthal Rukmini or, Dwarkadish Rukmini. So this is, the Lord appears to please his devotee in a particular form. And this is the form a yogi is supposed to concentrate. It is not that yogi is concentrating on some imagined form or some circle or some jyoti or some flame or something like that. No, Prabhupada says there is a clear indication by Patanjali Yoga Sutras what the yogi is supposed to do. And yogi is supposed to meditate on the personality of Godhead and thus become pure devotee. Prabhupada says yogi means a devotee. What a beautiful statement. Right? Yogi means a devotee. And ultimate yogi is always a devotee. That we have seen. Yoginam api sarvesham. That ultimate yogi is a devotee. And those yogis who are not pure devotees, Prabhupada says, they should follow in the footsteps of devotees and thus meditate on the form of the Lord and not manufacture something for their meditation, because they will not reach the destination. Text 30. So this is a beautiful verse about meditation on the form of the Supreme Lord. Yat Shrīniketanamalabi parisemvyamanam bhutya svaya kutila kuntala vrindajustam meenadvayaśrayamadhikshipatabjanetram dhyayet manomaya atindrita ullasadbhru. Translation?
Translation: the yogi then meditates upon the beautiful face of the Lord, which is adorned with curly hair and decorated by lotus-like eyes and dancing eyebrows. A lotus surrounded by swarming bees and a pair of swimming fish would be put to shame by its elegance. Purport: one important statement here is Dhyayena Manomayam. Manomayam is not imagination. Impersonalists think that the yogi can imagine any form he likes, but as stated here, the yogi must meditate upon the form of the Lord, which is experienced by devotees. Devotees never imagine a form of the Lord. They are not satisfied by something imaginary. The Lord has different eternal forms. Each devotee likes a particular form and thus engages himself in the service of the Lord by worshipping that form. The Lord's form is depicted in different ways according to scriptures. As already discussed, there are 8 kinds of representations of the original form of the Lord. These representations can be produced by the use of clay, stone, wood, paint, sand, etc., depending upon the resources of the devotee. Manomayam is a carving of the form of the Lord within the mind. This is included as one of the 8 different carvings of the form of the Lord. It is not imagination. Meditation on the actual form of the Lord may be manifested in different manners, but one should not conclude that one has to imagine a form. There are 2 comparisons in this verse. First, the Lord's face is compared to a lotus, and then his black hair is compared to humming bees swarming around the lotus, and his 2 eyes are compared to 2 fish swimming about. A lotus flower on the water is very beautiful when surrounded by humming bees and fish. The Lord's face is self-sufficient and complete. His beauty defies the natural beauty of a lotus. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So this Makara Kundala in the previous verse, Acharyas gives a very beautiful commentary there. They say that Makara Kundala are considered to be very special because they are always kissing the cheeks of the Supreme Lord, because they are, they find opportunity and they are always kissing the cheeks of the Supreme Lord. Now we come to text 30, and it's a very important, beautiful verse. Yogi then thus meditate upon the beautiful face of the Lord, which is adorned with the curly hair and decorated with lotus-like eyes and the dancing eyebrows. Okay? You can just make the eyebrows, movement of the eyebrows. Right. Recently, there was some national crush who had some Priya or somebody who had these dancing eyebrows. And this is a very regular practice in Kathakali and those kind of dance forms. But she had become, India famous in overnight by, Bhruvijrumbhena Kevalam. Later this will come, that Lord is explaining the power of Maya, and there is also explains Bhruvijrumbhena Kevalam. So, concentrating on the eyebrows of the Supreme Lord, right? Dancing eyebrows of the Supreme Lord. A lotus surrounded by the swarming bees and the pair of the swimming fish. Which are this pair of the swimming fish? These are the eyes of the Supreme Lord, would put to shame by its elegance. Okay. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the words dhyayena manomayam is very important. Now, as soon as the word manomayam comes, people will say, oh, dhyayena manomayam. That means as ever my mind imagine, that's how I can dhyayet. No, not like that. That is not the indication of this. Dhyayena manomayam. Dhyayena manomayam means the form of the Lord which is found in the mind of a devotee. Right? Very important thing. Form of the Lord which is found in the mind of a devotee. Because devotees will never speculate about the form of the Lord. There are specific scriptures and there are descriptions of the form of the Lord. And that's why you will find ISKCON pictures are so very appealing, because when all these ISKCON artists were painting, they were personally guided by Srila Prabhupada. And there are many wonderful stories also. One day one devotee painted a picture where Krishna is lifting Govardhan hill. And that devotee, the new devotee, and and that devotee just painted Krishna with his biceps bulging like that, and Krishna is also in a very, very curved face and straining and lifting. And Prabhupada says, no, Krishna will not lift Govardhan hill like that. Krishna doesn't need biceps to lift Govardhan hill. And then Prabhupada used to guide all these pictures, all these painters, to exactly draw as the Lord looks in the spiritual world. And that's why you will see these pictures. You can see the pictures. There are so many pictures, if you can see. They look so real. Why? Because they are manomayena. First thing, they are according to scriptures, and second is they are as perceived manomayena of a pure devotee of the Lord. Lord's form can be thus represented in the matter on 8 different ways, right? Clay, stone, wood, paint, sand, also mind, jewels. So all these are applicable for, manomayena. So another thing Prabhupada says, manomayena also means that carving of the Lord's form within one's mind. Savayimana Krishna Padaravindayor. And there are many stories of devotees who had a very deep mental absorption within the form of the Lord. And, they were, and within that seva, they were actually rendering the pure devotional service within their mind. This is a very advanced stage. Just like there is a story of Brahman from Pratishtanpur. Pratishtanpur is modern day Paitan. And this personality was a very poor Brahmana, and he just heard that, the such and such devotional service is to be rendered, and devotional service can also be rendered in the mind. And thus, then he used to, cutting a big story short, he used to elaborately meditate on the Supreme Lord, and he used to cook, big feast to the Supreme Lord. And one day he was cooking the sweet rice, which is supposed to be served cold, and then to check within the mind, everything is in the mind. In the mind, he put his finger in the rice to check if it is hot or cold, and suddenly his finger burnt. And when he just, shook his hand and opened his mind, it was like nothing was there. Actually, it was whole thing was in mind. And the Lord in the Vaikuntha, he was smiling there. And Lakshmi ji is asking, my dear Lord, why are you smiling? And then Lord explained all this. He said, just wait, I will get one of my devotee. He sent the Vishnudutas, got this, a wonderful personality, and then narrated the pastime to Lakshmi. So this is also the manomayen of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada says, thus the form of the Lord is never imagination. 2 comparisons here, Prabhupada says. The first is Lord's face is compared to the lotus. His black hair, they are compared to the humming bees swarming around the lotus. Right? We have seen that, the bees will be just moving around the lotus. And the 2 eyes, they are compared to the 2 fish swimming in the lotus. And then there are two eyebrows which are always dancing. And this, Prabhupada says, the Lord's face is self-sufficient and complete. And his beauty defies the natural beauty of a lotus. There is a very beautiful pastime regarding connected to this, connecting Lord's face with something our the daily experience. There was a devotee of Lord Jagannath, and his name was this devotee basically, one day his wife served him rice, and the Bengal Odisha devotee, and they take substantial amount of rice. Rice is their main course. And then she had prepared the palak ka dal, which had become blackish, and then she poured on the palak ka dal, and there was a red chutney. So when the dal was poured, the dal flew all across, the all across the plate. And then the rice was divided into two parts. So he saw that two white circles, and there is all blackish dal around, and the chutney took a shape of a beautiful smiling red chutney. And what is that face? That face is Lord Jagannath. And suddenly he went in ecstasy, and and then there is a beautiful pastime like that. So this is the beautiful face of the Supreme Lord. Now we come to text 31. तस्यावलोकनदिकं कृपयाति घोर तापत्रयोपशमनाय निर्शिष्टमक्ष्णो स्निग्धस्मित अनुगणितं विपुलप्रसादं ध्यायेच्चिरं विपुलभावनया गुहायाम्. Translation.
The yogis should contemplate with full devotion the compassionate glances frequently cast by the Lord's eyes, for they soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of his devotees. His glances, accompanied by loving smiles, are full of abundant grace. Purport. As long as one is in the conditional life, in the material body, it is natural that he will suffer from anxieties and agonies. One cannot avoid the influence of material energy, even when one is on the transcendental plane. Sometimes disturbances come, but the agonies and anxieties of the devotees are at once mitigated when they think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his beautiful form or the smiling face of the Lord. The Lord bestows innumerable favors upon his devotee, and the greatest manifestation of his grace is his smiling face, which is full of compassion for his pure devotees.
Yeah. Now the next is, thus the yogi should contemplate with full devotion the compassionate glances frequently cast by Lord's eyes. So one should look in, eye in eye with the Supreme Lord when he's in front of the deity. They soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of his devotees. His glances, accompanied by the loving smiles, are full of abundant grace, vipula prasadam. Snigdha, smita, anugunitam, vipula prasadam. Look at the beautiful words here. Snigdha, they are filled with so much of snigdhata. There is the smita, the smile, and which is anugunitam, vipula prasadam. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, as long as whether devotee or non-devotee, when you are in the material world, we are bound to suffer. One should not be in some hallucination thinking that because I have become devotee, I will not suffer. No. There was a very amazing personality, Sridhara Swami, ISKCON devotee, ISKCON sannyasi, Prabhupada disciple, and he used to say, material world means pain is compulsory, but suffering is optional. Pain is compulsory because this is a material world. There will be anxieties, there will be agonies, but because a devotee has such a powerful hook or powerful, where one is connected very deeply to the philosophy, then one can avoid the influence of material energy. Although the material energy and based on one's karma and a lot of things, they will act on the person. And even when we say karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Our devotional service itself is also with so much of fault. It is not tivrena bhakti yogena. So, considering all this, a devotee expects a roller coaster ride just like that is for anybody else in this material world. From a distance, somebody may look like, a very heroic person, this and that. And really, when you go very deep in their life, if they open up, you realize that apna karma hi kafi hai apne liye, I don't want to exchange my karma with somebody else. So, the material world is a roller coaster for everyone, but for a devotee, there is an anchor of the personality of Godhead. Prabhupada says, the beautiful form and the smiling face, these are the greatest benediction of the Lord's grace, and which is full of compassion for his pure devotee. And now there is beautiful smile of the Supreme Lord. Hasam Hareravanitaa Kilalokatibra Shokashrusagar Vishoshanamatyudaram Sammohanaya Rachitam Nijamayayasya Bhrumandalam Munikrute Makaradvajasya. Translation?
A yogi should similarly meditate on the most benevolent smile of Lord Sri Hari, a smile which, for all those who bow to him, dries away the ocean of tears caused by the intense grief. The yogi should also meditate on the Lord's arched eyebrow, which are manifested by his internal potency in order to charm the sensual God for the good of the sages. Purport: the entire universe is full of miseries, and therefore the inhabitants of this material universe are always shedding tears out of intense grief. There is a great ocean of water made of such tears, but for one who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ocean of tears is at once dried up. One need only see the charming smile of the Supreme Lord. In other words, the bereavement of material existence immediately subsides when one sees the charming smile of the Lord. It is stated in this verse that the charming eyebrows of the Lord are so fascinating that they cause one to forget the charms of sense attraction. The conditioned souls are shackled to material existence because they are captivated by the charms of sense gratification, especially sensual life. The sensual god is called Makaradhvaja. The charming brows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead project the sage and devotees from being charmed by material lust and sensual attraction. Yamunacharya, a great acharya, said that ever since he had seen the charming pastimes of the Lord, the charms of sensual life had become abominable for him, and the mere thought of sensual enjoyment would cause him to spit and turn his face. Thus, if anyone wants to be aloof from sensual attraction, he must see the charming smile and fascinating eyebrows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Now, next is glorification of Hasam, the smile and eyebrows of the Supreme Lord. Bhrumandalam. The yogi should meditate on the most benevolent smile of Lord Hari, which drives away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief, dukkha ashru sagara. One should concentrate on the arched eyebrows so that one will not be charmed by the sensual God, and this is for the good of the sages. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the material world means dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Sometimes people say that, Prabhuji, is it not pessimistic? This is not a pessimistic portrayal of the world. This is the realistic portrayal of the world. Of course, by seeing dukkhalayam ashashvatam, we don't say that, they simply give up working and just become a zombie. One has to work hard. One has to work for one's contribution, devotional service, and everything else. But still, the nature of the material world remains same. It is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. And there are innumerable living entities who are in intense grief and pain. And all these living entities, they are shedding tears. And therefore, there is a huge ocean which is formed, which is called as Dukkha Ashru Sagara. So we have heard of the saltwater ocean. We have heard of the milk ocean, Kshira Sagara. There is another ocean which is called as Dukkha Ashru Sagara. But this entire Dukkha Ashru Sagara can be completely evaporated by when one meditates on the charming smile on the Supreme Lord. Right? So what this means is that when we meditate on the Lord's lotus face, then what happens is one will be relieved of one's dukkha and ashru. Bereavement of the material existence immediately subsides when one sees the charming smile of the Lord. Then there are eyebrows, bhrumandalam, and these are, Prabhupada says here, the eyebrows of the Lord are so fascinating that they cause one to forget the charms of sense gratification. So there is a god of sense gratification, Makaradhvaja, and this Makaradhvaja, we have seen that Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visheshu Shobha. The Lord is called as Madan Mohan. Lord Madan is also captivated by the Supreme Lord, Madan Mohan. And therefore, to conquer the desire, one should take darshan of the Supreme Lord, especially eyebrows of the Supreme Lord. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes, this great saint Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya is the same personality who was the guru of Ramanujacharya. And he says this beautiful shloka, Yada yada avati mama cheta padarvindam. And he says that, Srushtu ushtivanam cha. That, the thought of sense gratification, I just spit at this and turn my face away. Thus, Prabhupada says, anyone wants to be aloof from the sense gratification, one must see the charming smile and fascinating eyebrows of the personality of Godhead. Again, needless to say, age appropriate and progressively. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I think the devotee name is Dasa Bauri, the one who was.
Dasya Bauri. Right. Correct. The Dasya Bauri. Correct. Thank you. Hare Hare.